Okay, what we have here is a starter off a 1997 F350 7.3 Powerstroke. Come off a 1-ton dually crew cab truck that I parked about 6 weeks ago, and it was working fine. I went to start it back up and battery was apparently low, so I charged the battery and then it didn't want to start. So I checked everything I could. The Bendix was engaging, but it wasn't spinning the truck over. So I'm not sure what's going on here. I don't think my engine froze up, but what we're gonna do is pull this thing apart, inspect it, clean it up, put it back together, and see if we can make it work. And of course, I don't know what I'm doing here, so we're just gonna pull it apart and see what happens. We're gonna start by bench testing it. I pulled it out of the truck and bench tested it, or ground tested it, whatever you want to call it. And it engaged and spun up. But I really don't know how these things are supposed to, how hard they're supposed to hit. So this is what we've got. So it does appear to be working. But just the same, I'm going to pull it apart and see if maybe it could use cleaning in there. Now, I crawled underneath the truck out in the field where it's parked, pulled the starter off earlier, and it's got 3 bolts holding it on. This top one's kind of a pain to get to, but a 6-inch extension on the ratchet will get you past that solenoid. I use this. That helps tremendously once you get it busted loose. Fortunately, that top one wasn't too tight, so it came loose. And if you're going to do that, you might as well start with that top bolt, because if you can't get that one out, you're wasting your time anyhow. But that's 17 millimeter head on there. All 3 of those are 17s. This, now I just leave the wires on there. Unbolt the starter, let it drop, let it hang on that wire. That wire is a great big old wire. And before you get under there, you make sure you disconnect both positive cables, because this lead goes straight to the batteries. You got the dual batteries, and it'll make quite the light show if you get under there and do this without disconnecting those positive cables. I'm not going to tell you how I know that. But this is actually a 16 millimeter. But once you get it hanging, you want to take this small wire off. That's going to be an 8 millimeter. I used a socket on it, but that's an 8 millimeter nut there. So take that little one off first, because you can hang that starter off that big wire no problem. Then you take this other one off and you can get it out of there. The big pain is this right here. That's pretty hard to get to, but you can do it. Put your cheater bar on your ratchet, whatever you need to do. And if you've got a air ratchet, that speeds things up considerably. But do make sure you disconnect both positive leads on your batteries. Now I think what we're going to do here, we're going to start by disconnecting this solenoid. And if you've got one of these impact drivers, I'd use it. You could probably get away with just a regular screwdriver, but this will keep you from stripping them out unnecessarily. And of course, this is probably going to be a 10 millimeter, because everything is. Impact on it. See what kind of surprises we got here. Oh my. Oh my. That bearing feels all right. It's pretty dirty. All right, let's try not to lose all these brushes. Do we pull this off here? Come on, babies. Let me see here. Don't come flying out of there now. Oh, crap. Be very careful with these. We don't want to mess up them brushes. Any more than we have to. Try not to kick that around too much. Brushes look to be in good shape. It's kind of dirty in there. That's what we got here. It's pretty cruddy, ain't gonna lie. But other than being a little cruddy. It's a 1/4 inch ball bearing, don't lose that. That's gonna sit right on the end of that shaft. You're gonna have to set it back in there. Don't lose that bearing. Let's see what else we got here now. Oh yeah, there's a lot of crap in there. You're gonna have to make that go away some. That's a little cruddy. Now, I could have probably left this in there and pulled this all off in one piece, but I didn't. Now what I'm gonna do, I don't know, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this. Go ahead and pull this solenoid off there. And see what's going on in there. It's working. But while I got it torn apart, I might as well look and see. I don't want to beat on that too hard, but just enough to get them broke loose. Uh-oh. Don't lose those. You do not want to lose those now. Those are your planetary gears. For you. There we did it. Oh, I knew that was gonna happen. Everybody okay? Yeah. Don't do that. Probably ain't gonna help the process none. Probably not gonna help you none. But we didn't hurt nothing either, so we'll be fine. Besides, this is a $300 starter. If it don't work, don't matter. I'll just be putting it back together anyway and using it for a core. ahead and clean that out too. You know it ain't terrible. All right. That's as far as we're going to take it down. The bearing don't feel bad. Feels pretty good, but I'm still going to clean it all up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this video and clean that all up, and we'll come back and put it back together and see what we get. Okay, we got this stuff mostly cleaned up. Didn't mess with the main body. It really didn't need anything that I could tell. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and stick this back together. Now, I do know that I should probably be using a little lighter grease in this, but I don't care. It's grease, and it's slick. So I think it'll work just fine. See how many tries this takes. A little more stuff in there, why not? Cheap. Now we've got that little ball bearing we don't want to lose. We got to drop it right back down in the center there, because it's going to ride on the end of that shaft there, right like that. And you can see that I did go ahead and clean this up, sanded it, polished it up a little bit. Probably don't make a difference, but I figured what the heck, why not? I'm just going to stick that ball bearing on the end there, and hopefully it'll stay in there till we get it down in there. And maybe it won't. Sure it will. Just because got a little grease on it, I want it dry. Does it need to be dry? No, it doesn't. In fact, it was pretty gummed up with grease. Pretty darn gummed up with grease. This was real greasy too. Now, I've cleaned all that stuff up pretty well. I actually did it with parts washer, in the parts washer. And then finished it off with some carb cleaner and brake lube. We'll work them brushes around that bearing. Now we got to work them around that armature. Did I ruin it? I think that'll be okay. No, that won't be okay. I've turned it the wrong way. Oh no, there it is. This lines up with this space, this wire. That should line this up better for you. What am I forgetting? Nothing. Is that all the parts? You have to put it back together and pull it back apart. Can't say I've never done it before. This, that's a weep hole. That's supposed to go on the bottom. I stuck it on the top. And since I stuck it on the top, things didn't want to line up. Never start hardware with a power tool. You will regret it. That's mine. Should have put Loctite on that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to. Little blue Loctite, just for the hell of it. Well, that's more than I needed. There is a little gasket between this cap and this body and this body and that body. A little tiny gasket, so you might want to be a little careful with that. I know I got another one of those around here. Sometimes electric motors don't want to work right. Cleaning them up will help them tremendously. Well, damn it. I'm gonna quit kicking this thing. Close enough for a Ford. 12 pound. 12 pounds. More than it needs, but who cares? That Loctite will help us with that. All right. Now, we've got, put this back together. I did clean that out. Spring goes on that little stub down there in the middle. Shove it right in here. And for them, it don't matter. But you do need this oriented properly. You want the lead that goes to the motor closer to the motor. I'm going to lay this down for this. Inside, there's a deal you got to hook that on. That functions the throwing the bendix out. I know I'm making this hard on myself, but what fun would it be if I didn't? I should have brought me a screwdriver over here, but I didn't. I'm gonna start that. We'll get a darn screwdriver. I'm gonna put a little Loctite on that also. God dang it. I do have a faster screwdriver than that. A little sloppy. Who cares? That's not the sound of me stripping the screws. That's just the sound of my clutch slipping in my screw gun there. All right. Now, we're going to snug this bottom nut before we go snugging, putting the top one on. Snug that too much, it'll break. And then nut in the washer. Yeah, I'm lazy. Who cares? Gonna snug that pretty good. Keep that space in there. There. Now, I really didn't take that long, did it? Let's clear some of our mess here. See if it runs any differently at all. It may not, but it was pretty grudgy in there. Guess who's going back in? I knew I was forgetting something. Let's see how much quicker we can do it this time. That's why. We should keep the parts where we can see them. Timing now. We're starting over, boys. I wish I could have heard y'all screaming at me. I bet y'all was too. The plate, dumbass, the plate. Put the plate, you dumb motherfucker. Oops, I guess I'm supposed to be talking like that, isn't I? It's all right. We just keep getting better at this all the time, don't we? Where's my mounting stand? There now. Alrighty then. Come on, baby. You gotta come back off. Sorry to tell you. Watch your little ball bearing. Ball bearing stayed in there. I'm pretty sure. I hope it did. Looky there. Look at that. At least we found it before I got it back on the truck. Ouch. I'll be fine. One more time. Deja vu. You're gonna make a mistake. You need to fix it double time, triple time. That way less people notice. Fortunately for me, this ain't my first mistake. I've got some experience making mistakes. What a cheap bastard I am, huh? Don't start hardware with power tools. You'll regret it. Got a whole pile of thread locker down there now. All right. Come on, knucklehead. Make sure this bolt's still snug. Should have took a moment, make sure I didn't forget something else. Keep that space between that lead and that body. It'll rub through on you eventually. All right. Now, I say I got all the parts back in there. Y'all ain't seeing nothing I missed, are you? Let's see if it runs any different. If it runs at all. Maybe I forgot some important stuff. It'll be 12 volt, 50 amps. We'll see if it's any different. Oh, it shocked me. I've never had that happen. It seems to be running fine. Actually sounds a little smoother and cleaner. I say it's gonna work. I'll tell you what I'm gonna do next. Just because this top bolt is such a pain in the butt. I'm gonna put that bolt in there and hit it with some hot glue around there and have it hold it for me till I can get a socket on it. Because it's gonna be very difficult to get up in there to start that bolt. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right. It's cleaner. It's put back together proper with all the parts. We're gonna call that good.